What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network for an episode of Decks Under the Radar. We're going to be talking about some deck lists today that have done reasonably well at regional events, but aren't exactly the highlight of everybody's discussions. So some decks that maybe you just want to watch out for, or you might want to try out yourself. We're going to be looking at those in today's video. Before we get into it, shout out to my sponsors, PotownStore.com and CardTrooperGames.com. Use code Celio for 5% off at both of those websites to save some money, and it also helps support my channel. Beast Coast Pokemon is where I'm creating collaborative content for the Pokemon trading card game and Pokemon VGC and other Pokemon titles like Pokemon Unite. Definitely check that out. The link is in the description down below. And also PokemonCard.io, where you can share your deck lists and view other people's deck lists. And they're even giving out PTCGO code awards for people who have the most popular deck lists viewed per day, per week, and just some random giveaways as well. Check all of that out. Links are in the description down below. And you can also subscribe to this channel for daily Pokemon TCG content. And if you enjoy the video, leave a like and a comment. It helps push us out there into the YouTube algorithm world. Now let's get into today's decks that I think are under the radar. First, we're looking at Maromar VMAX Arceus Vstar. This exact list is coming at you from Mikey San Agustin, and Mikey placed 19th at the Salt Lake City Regional Championships, which had over 600 Masters Division players. So a great accomplishment being in the top 32 with this deck that is not on anybody's, top 10 decks or the top decks to watch out for or the top plays for an event. But this did reasonably well for being a rogue-ish deck. So Malamar VMAX has the dark typing, which is great because we want to hit Mew VMAX for weakness, but it is not weak to fighting like a lot of dark type Pokemon are, so it's not getting hit back for weakness by things like Galarian Zapdos V and Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, which makes this a really nice dark attacker to have. 310 HP plus a big charm, which this list runs 3 of, will bring it up to 340 HP. That's going to be hard to knock out. But we haven't gotten to Malamar VMAX's attack yet. Why this dark type attacker other than the weakness? Max Jammer does 180, and then your opponent reveals their hand, and you choose a card from there to put at the bottom of your opponent's deck. This, paired with Marnie or Judge plus Path to the Peak, is going to heavily disrupt your opponent. You can probably put them into an unplayable hand between Marnie, Path, and then just get rid of one of the cards in their hand while you're also dealing 180 damage. This can also just function like a regular Arceus deck. You play a 4-2 Arceus line for double turbo energies. You also have Galarian Moltres V as an additional dark type attacker if you don't want to put out a VMAX or you just can't get Malamar VMAX set up. But I can certainly see why this deck did well enough to earn 19th place. And I think this is one of those decks that are actually really good and just aren't getting enough play, enough innovation, enough testing, enough love. So definitely one that I wanted to feature today in the video. Next, we have Hariyama Houndoom. This one's crazy, and it got top 32 at the Liverpool Regionals, piloted by Theodore. I will not be trying to pronounce Theodore's last name, but congrats and great job for the day 2 with a very creative deck. So Hariyama has the Guts ability, which is why it's here. If this Pokemon would be knocked out by damage from an attack, flip a coin. If heads, this Pokemon is not knocked out, and its remaining HP becomes 10. That's wild. Your opponent just doesn't get the knockout for it. Sure, they can clean it up next turn with, like, Zigzagoon or Chilling Reign Inteleon Ping, but that's a prize card that they are not immediately getting. And you could even do something crazy like retreat that Hariyama to the bench, collapse Stadium it off the board, so your opponent can't get that knockout. But it is powered up by Houndoom's Single Strike Roar, which attaches Single Strike energies, and then Single Strike energies do 20 more damage. You can use Twin Energy as well to attack with this Pokemon. So you're doing decent chunks of damage and hitting fighting type weakness on Arceus Vstar, Jolteon Vmax, etc. And then you have more Peko and Stonejourner as backup attackers. All the while, these attackers are all single prizers, and Fighting and Dark are arguably the 2 best types to be hitting in the current metagame of Standard format. So this is a really fun deck, a really cheap deck. a really interesting deck. It checks a lot of boxes for a lot of people. So this is definitely one that I think you should try out if you're looking for something fresh and maybe something inexpensive to build either online or in real life. And you just want to frustrate the big VMAX decks with these little dudes to hit them for weakness. It's a lot of fun. So I definitely suggest taking this one for a spin. Next, we have Leafeon Vmax. Nobody's talking about it, but Leafeon Vmax Day 2 the Sao Paulo Regionals. Alexander Franco got 28th place, top 32. Again, just like all of these decks so far have been top 32 or better at a regionals. That means they're winning money, they're winning booster boxes, they're winning championship points. These decks are worthy of being out there and being talked about. So Leafeon Vmax with the one Leafeon Vstar. I will touch on Leafeon Vstar. Its ability is once a game you get a free boss's orders. Absolutely nuts. But Leafeon Vmax is going to be your main attacker doing Grass Knot for 60 times the amount of retreat costs in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat. So if the opponent's retreat is 2, and then you put a Galar Mine out, making their retreat 4, then Grass Knot hits for 240, which is pretty darn good. The reason why Leafeon Vmax has fallen off is that Mew Vmax has free retreat, and Mew Vmax is a very good and very popular deck, which is Leafeon Vmax's biggest shortcoming. But other than that, it's a consistent functioning deck with Leafeon Vstar as a nice new addition to it. And if you're not too worried about maybe taking losses to Mew Vmax and being at least decent against everything else, and you like Leafeon, like I do, it's my favorite evolution, Leafeon Vmax might be a deck you want to check out, or at least know how it works in case you come up against it. We have Whimsicott Vstar, Arceus Vstar here, and we are getting into two final decks here for the video, and these two final decks both are top 8 decks. The previous 3 were top 32 decks. So these are ones you might have heard about a little bit, but I still wanted to give them the spotlight here in this video since they are still kind of rogue builds. They're not established archetypes that we're all talking about quite yet. So Whimsicott Vstar has the Trick Wind attack. For a psychic and 2 colorless energies, it does 160 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, they can't play any Pokemon tool or special energy cards from their hand. The special energy cards is a big thing. All these decks we're looking at today, all the decks that are popular in the metagame, most of them are playing some form of special energy. Whether that's going to be double turbo energy like we have in this deck, or fusion strike energy that Mew VMAX plays, or rapid strike energy that Rapid Strike Urshifu plays, you can lock a lot of decks out of some, if not all, of their energy cards with Trick Wind. So this is going to be a very good deck against any deck that's fully relying or mostly relying on special energy cards. And then, against other stuff, you have Arceus Vstar, and I hear he's pretty good. Also included in this deck is Yveltal from Celebrations with the Cry of Destruction. You can discard 3 special energy from your opponent's Pokemon. So if they get energy down prior to Trick Wind, or with something like a Lesser Sparkle or Single Strike Roar that gets around Trick Wind, you could just discard them with Yveltal, and then your opponent can't get them back if they're Fusion Strike energies or double energies or rapid energies. They can get back Single Strike energies, so Single Strike matchups can be a little tough, but Whimsicott Vstar can just completely shut out some decks and then just be annoying with Marnie, Hammer, Fan of Waves, Path to the Peak. Heck, even if you're not locking them out of special energy cards, this deck has a lot of annoying cards in it that could just disrupt your opponent, and all the while you're smacking them for like 160, 170 damage, maybe swinging with Arceus Vstar, and just disrupting them enough to slow them down so that you can just beat stick your way to victory. Oh, and I didn't even mention that this was 8th place in Sao Paulo Regionals, piloted by Tiago Ricardo. So top 8 at this past weekend's regional event. And lastly, we're going to look at Arceus Vstar with Rapid Strike Urshifu Vmax and Crobat Vmax, notably. 7th place, 1 place ahead of the Whimsicott from Sao Paulo, and this was piloted by Dalton Acheta. So this is more so an Arceus Bibarel deck, and the deck builder said, what can I fit in these extra slots? What can I do against the meta? What have we been saying? Dark and fighting are very good types. So Dalton here put Urshifu Vmax, Crobat Vmax, and away you go. So it's an Arceus deck, but you have those tools to support it to hit fighting type weakness when you want to, or hit dark type weakness when you want to. And you also have the Dunsparce in here to protect your own Arceus from fighting type weakness if you need to. So maybe you swing into their Arceus with your Urshifu to take the knockout. If they knock out your Urshifu and they play fighting type Pokemon, then you could drop the Dunsparce there, so your Arceus is protected from their fighting type stuff. So I also like how the deck is built very top heavy with the 4 Quick Ball, 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Battle VIP Pass to just get set up so your turn 1 is smooth, because Arceus V-Star decks, typically their main issue is that their turn 1 is the risky part. After turn 1, if you got set up, you're good to go for the rest of the game, but turn 1 is the hard part, so I like that they're playing the 4 Battle VIP Pass to really push the consistency of the turn 1 with this deck. And that's going to be it for today on Decks Under the Radar. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe, like, and comment to support the channel. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.